in 1989.
It's all about humanity.
It will be Saturday, March 4th, the 11th annual Rotary Central Health Check, the almost island-wide Rotary Health Screening. See us at Foster's Republic's West Bay, Cost You Less at Governor Square, West Bay Road, A.L. Thompson's Georgetown, Foster's at Countryside in Savannah, Bordentown, from 10 a.m. through 2 p.m. Take advantage of a free mini medical, a physician's check on your blood pressure, your A1C, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your healthy weight evaluation, and more. The 11th annual Rotary Central Health Check in conjunction with the Health Services Authority. Saturday, March 4. Save this date that could save your life. Rotary, all the good you imagine.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for joining us as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. We're going to focus on education, Enterprise Caymans, training and internship opportunities over Cayman Enterprise City. 1:30 we'll tell you about the local scholarships through the Department of Ministry of Education. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow, Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And in the studio with Ms. Bianca Moro, the Cayman Enterprise City Senior Marketing Manager and Head of Creative. Ms. Bianca, you brought along again two of your wonderful colleagues. So good afternoon to you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's, for me, very encouraging and inspiring that we can provide opportunities not just for aspiring professionals, but for those students who looking beyond what still may see the traditional career paths, who can pursue their passion and still make it their profession. So I'm honored once again to have Ms. Alyssa Anderson join us. Ms. Alyssa, thanks very much for coming on board. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Happy to be here.
Oh man, it's a wonderful day. A friend, he messaged said, "Magnificent Monday."
Yes.
It is. Well, Anastasia, as the Enterprise Command City Marketing Intern, how are you?
I'm doing good today. Thanks for having me here.
All right. It's the words of my best Billy Crystal impression. Marvelous. Not good. But Miss Bianca, when we think about it, it's refreshing that for our students, our high school students in particular, summer is coming. Mm-hmm. And for our college students who are probably looking either at finishing up their final semester before graduation or considering what their next steps are. It's only February, but we're forward thinking.
Yeah, we're definitely forward thinking. So Enterprise Command is back for another year with their internship program. And it's crazy. Every year it keeps growing and growing, which is amazing. So we are now currently open for applications. And we close, Alyssa, I believe April?
11th of April.
11th of April. So if you haven't applied already, do apply. You have until April 11th of 2023. And then we begin to look through all the applications, start matching applicants with special economic zone companies. And then we start the whole internship process, which usually happens within like as early as May and then all the way through to September. And it's dependent on the availability of the intern as well as the company. But it's certainly one of our most exciting initiatives within Enterprise Cayman. And like you said, it's something that every person that's in their last year or maybe even first year, as long as you're 18 plus, can partake in. And it's an incredible experience that you could get for your career.
So 18 to what, 81?
Yeah.
What's the
So it's 18 to 25.
Okay, so I just missed it.
Just missed it.
Next year I'll be 18. Next year. No, but I only just because I think many times we don't appreciate, as Mana said, the idea that 18-year-old who's perhaps leaving high school, or that person who's nearing 25, and for some, maybe finishing up their undergrad, or perhaps have deferred their formal education while they were working, still young enough to pursue that passion. For the internship, what's the duration like? I mean, you say the closing date for applicants is the 11th, which, if I remember the calendar, is the day after the 10th. But that 10th of April is Easter Monday. So as people go into the Easter weekend, it's easy to, I forgot what day it is. The next thing you know, it's December 31st and, the year's passed. So for those who are applying, we want to tell them, but how long is usually the sort of application, the internship program for?
So we usually do 1 to 3 months internship placements.
Okay, 1 to 3 months, and that's Ms. Bianca, that can help not just inform a prospective, person's mind as to the career path, but it can help them to get the discipline, being conscious. Okay, this is what the working world is like. This is what this potential career could be like.
Yeah, I think you can never really go wrong with going through an internship. It not only helps you get career ready and see how daily job work and grind is, and you could see also that maybe it's something that's not for you, and it's ideal to take it because it's better to find out now than once you graduate with your degree or something. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you tell us you're looking for those between 18 and 25, but tell us more. What sort of skill sets, attributes, what are you looking for in your candidates who apply?
Yeah. So we're definitely looking for someone. We kind of have it within the special economic zone. To kind of give a brief background, it is global companies that set up within Cayman Enterprise City. They have a physical presence on island. So we have an array of options. So you could be either in digital marketing, you could be interested in going the blockchain route, finance, if you're a game design, like we even have a company that we could set you up with. So we have different choices. So what we're really looking for the individual is an interest to go into the tech sector, the finance sector, marketing sector, the creativity, and have obviously some background in it. So if you're going currently to school for it, something for that. But then not only that, but just have also wanting like the willingness to learn and the willingness to work with these amazing companies that are global. We have had so many success stories in terms of the individual starting off here, and then they went back to finish school in England, and they got to continue their internship because they have an office in the London area. So it's incredible to not only just bank on that 1 month or 3 months here, but there is continual room for either getting hired onto the job or an extended internship.
Yeah. Well, maybe as our discussion continues, you could probably highlight some of the examples of the types of companies. But if I could, Ms. Tasia, maybe ask of you, I mean, your experience in the internship program, what was that like?
So I spent 2 months at the CEC headquarters as their marketing intern, working closely with Bianca, senior marketing manager, and the chief marketing officer, Caitlin. And it was a good experience because I had a good mix of projects and experience in different areas of marketing. That's not necessarily something I can get in my internships. I was able to do some digital marketing, a bit of events, a bit of strategy and research, some creative projects, some copywriting. So I did have the opportunity to, dip my toe in a bit of everything. And working closely with the brand also gave me the opportunity to learn a bit more about brand management. So working under Bianca and Caitlin gave me an experience I didn't get anywhere else. And working in such a dynamic office with the wonderful team that's personally invested in your growth as a professional and as an individual, it's not an opportunity I think you can get anywhere else anytime soon.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask Ms. Alyssa about that, but maybe you just, continue with Ms. Tasia. Many times in Cayman, and I say this carefully, not to be disparaging and disrespectful, we hear big fish, small pond kind of deal. And sometimes we don't appreciate that just an internship, whether it's paid, whether it's even volunteering, how easy it is, almost as if you're being begged to come on board. But relative to other jurisdictions, you may be one applicant of 10,000 for... So we take that for granted, do you think? I mean, how do we don't see those opportunities? We miss them, or when they're available to us, we sort of pass on by?
I think internships are definitely an excellent opportunity that if you have the chance, you should take advantage of it because it gives you a chance to grow as a professional. You get to build that experience when you don't have that probably before. And working in an office like CEC, sometimes you step in, you kind of forget that how big the company is because you're working in such a tight-knit, almost family feeling. And everyone's there to lend a helping hand and invest in your growth. You can always go ask a question if you need to. But outside of the opportunities in building your experience and, your professional portfolio in any field you're in, there's the networking opportunities, which isn't something you can get, presenting yourself as a college student. It's different putting your best foot forward, presenting yourself as an intern in a company. It shows that you have the go-getter attitude and that you're putting yourself out there, and that's something that helps you to make connections with potential employers or career connections that you can't get just maybe sitting around waiting for it to come by.
All right. Alyssa, I mean, listen to her share. Bring that home for us. I think we miss it too often.
I agree. I think that it's definitely something that's overlooked by a lot of people, especially when they aren't necessarily paid internships. I think that's the kind of thing that can be a deterrent to a lot of people. But I'll speak from some experience. I had summer jobs from I was about 12 years old. So like Bianca had said earlier, it was a tool for me to not only figure out not what I wanted to do, but I got to figure out what I didn't want to do a lot as well. So, by the time university came around, I was able to specialize and know for sure that this was where I was meant to be.
And that's key. I mean, we'll come back from the break, but I think many of us sometimes, we might know what we want, but by process of elimination, we know I don't want to do that. Yeah. That's interesting. It's for my brother, my sister, but that's not for me. And you don't only know, first time. So maybe we come back, Stasia, we can maybe ask a little bit more about that. We can talk about some other things that are coming up. And with the great respect, maybe sometimes the adults, the parents in particular, in our endeavor to try to guide and nurture our children, maybe sometimes we missed the mark and we look at our experience, positive or negative, and maybe undervalue or sometimes just ignore the obviousness before us. So we'll help them to navigate that. We'll get it right. By the end of the program, we'll solve the world's problems. All right, join us after the break. Stay tuned.
busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day? Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences. They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we're introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
J and Money touching down again. Now you can send your US dollars at any location on island, including the BRAC. It's easy. Just walk with your US dollars. No need to convert to CI. This is another convenient service available at J and Money. They always find a way to make it easier and hassle-free. So remember, when you need to send your money and you only have US dollars, don't ever think of what to do. Just head straight to any J and Money location and send your money the fast, convenient, and affordable J and Money. J and Money, touching down again. J and Money, ranga to la friend.
Grand Cayman's biggest one-day family fun day is back. The 54th Annual Agricultural Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Ash Wednesday, February 22nd. Raffle tickets are on sale now. And for only $25, you can win $20,000 and so many other prizes. Raffle tickets include general admission to the show. For more information, visit them on Facebook or caymanagriculture.com.
Did you know advertising will be required before submitting a temporary work permit application that exceeds 30 days? Effective 31 March 2023, employers with part-time or full-time available positions will need to advertise on the Jobs Cayman portal. To learn more about the new regulations or for assistance in using the Jobs Cayman portal, visit work.ky. That's WORC.ky. Work.ky. Or call customer care 945-9672, 945-9672 today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And truly is an opportunity that as we navigate the remaining days of this second month of this year, I know the last couple of centuries, 20th century, 2021 century, it feels like it was a long time away, and I hopefully in that laughter people will appreciate the time flies. So Bianca Mora, to you and Miss Alyssa and Miss Tasia, maybe we as parents and as educators, as we educate, instruct, nurture, guide our children or students, that we'll appreciate the learning isn't just that academic accomplishment, it's the practical experience. Is, as Tasia shared, that networking opportunity that as adults we understand. Some of us call it, something else, but it's what builds those bridges. Okay. So as we get into the discussion, before we continue, what would you say, Bianca? I mean, you're the head of it. You got it all. You're the veteran. You know how it works. How do we get those young 18 to 25-year-olds to appreciate that we don't know everything just yet?
Yeah.
And I'm listening carefully because I'm assuming of that age.
No, it's incredible to. An internship can go so many ways. I actually don't think there's any negative way an internship can go. That's why it's so key to take on this opportunity. Is to what Abigail mentioned. It's a great opportunity to network, specifically with CEC in itself. You're not just part of interning for like Cayman Enterprise City. You're part of the full special economic zone. So you have over 300 companies there. So you could go to all the like monthly socials. We actually also host a internship meetup, which is with our Special Economic Zone members, as well as all the people that applied for the internship program. It's kind of like a great networking event. So even if you don't go on to continue specifically for the company that you are interning for, you have had the chance to network in all these different monthly events. So like I said, definitely take this opportunity, because it could go so many ways for you. You could meet new individuals that you might be interested to work in their company. You could get hired on by the actual company that you interned for. Or you also realize you don't like to do this, so then you go on and change your career, just slightly pivot. But like I said, you can't go wrong in taking on an internship.
Yeah. A teacher recently shared with me again, a young student that has this sense of precociousness, may not necessarily know what she wants to do just yet, and it's sort of going to a family buffet. There's all these things that potluck, all the members of the family are brought, and you look and say, well, I don't really necessarily want that. I've tried that before, not too keen, maybe for dietary restrictions, how much intake, and you go around the table. This is what the internship is like, Ms. Alyssa.
Yeah, definitely. I also think that it helps keep you motivated when you're actually in university. You're getting the opportunity to apply some of the things you're learning along the way, so that, you're confident that everything tied together at the end of the day.
But as young people, we have so much, on our calendar. There hopefully, and I say this because I think it's important, time to interact with each other, socialize, give the brain and the body that needed other stimulation of rest and exercise. But we need to meet the deadlines of our school for graduation, just to submit to graduate. The exam coming up, better be prepared. Right. I would imagine for internships and there's key dates and things that we need to know as well, right? Yeah. Because time flies, and my father always reminds us, no matter your wealth, you can't even buy a second. So we better not miss it. That. He's a wise man, I tell you. So help us to appreciate, some of the things that are coming up. And I also want to ask, Ms. Tasia again about that experience, because I think more and more. But anyway.
All right. So just for future applicants as well, the internship program opens for applications the 1st of December. And then this year it'll be closing the 11th of April. Then we spend about 2 weeks or so towards the end of April in our deliberations, selecting candidates, and then internships start between May and September, depending on availability on both sides.
Yeah, and that's crucial. I mean, you help them based on their application and sort of demonstrated interest. Maybe with that, I was asking Ms. Bianca, so that people get an appreciation of the variety of potential opportunities that exist. Give us some examples of the different companies that potentially, some of the interns could be paired with.
Yeah, in terms of interest, we have digital marketing, anything in artificial intelligence, which I know is quite big right now. Yeah. Blockchain, which was big last year. No, I'm just kidding. That's still going. Of course, we have finance, and what's cool about the finance sector within the Special Economic Zone is it's a bit more of fintech, so it's kind of joining both the tech side and the old school finance side. And yeah, it's like I said, it's not just you're going into one company, but you have an array of all these different global options.
And for you, Ms. Tasia, from that perspective, as you looked at possible career choices, educational pursuits, and the internship, how did that help, shape your sort of direction? How do you feel, it helped you? Because as Ms. Bianca shared, you get a taste of the working world. I say this carefully, not to discourage anybody, but I liken, being an employee to being on a prisoner work release program. It's seriously, because you have to be at work by a certain time as contracted. You're required to stay there by a certain time. And then when you leave, whether it's the weekend or the next night, return at a certain time. You need permission, lunches between now. I'm not saying, and I think that as students, we complain about, 3 o'clock, I'll be here all day. And then only 2 months there are a lot of things that happen that shifts within us, and as we hopefully get older and more experienced and more mature, but if we do that, we'll appreciate that it's a mindset. And once you find something that you love to do, you will do that constantly and never feel like you're, on a prisoner work release program. And it helps me to understand, to appreciate value, right? So, yeah, people will say, boy, he said that publicly. I'll say it again tomorrow too. But anyway.
I mean, like you said, there's a twofold benefit to internships. Like, based on what you just spoke on, like you mentioned, there's the side of finding what you love and finding your passion in terms of your career, because internships are an excellent opportunity to do that. I'm sure a lot of young people out there in school getting ready to enter the working world, they struggle with figuring out exactly what they want to do. Some might have a dream job title that they think they want, and they get into the field and it's not exactly what they thought it was. So I would say don't turn down an opportunity simply because it doesn't have that dream job title on it. Internships are an excellent opportunity for you to take the time to figure out what it is exactly you want to do. I wouldn't say just go specifically into this field. If you want to do biochemistry, you only take biochemistry internships. Take the time to look at internships that might be closely related to that field, because you never know where a new passion might strike up and you might find something that you want to do, and internships are an excellent opportunity to explore that. But also, as you mentioned, from the side of, the 9 to 5, learning to work in an office, I mean, it's an excellent opportunity to learn how to function in a professional environment. You learn office etiquette, like you mentioned, things like punctuality, and you learn your strengths and weakness so you can grow yourself. And not all learning happens in the classroom.
Exactly.
Some of the most important things you learn in your career are gained from that hands-on experience. And so many fields in the working world are intertwined. It's no matter what you go into, there are some core skills that make you a good professional you'll learn in an internship, no matter what field it's in.
And this is key, Bianca, because as we go into the break, I think oftentimes, as Ms. Tasia reminded us, we, the adults, many times, even now that we know different as parent and as educator, the learning is in the classroom, it's the academic. But what's the word we use? Soft skills. Don't necessarily subscribe to that because they're key, in my mind, just to me, interpersonal skills. You need to be a team player. Those are key things as part of how the organizational politics / dynamic work. From attending a corporate function to the idea of how do you bring this thing literally sometimes to the table. We have a presentation. They're learning in that environment much more than they could perhaps theoretically in the classroom or otherwise.
Yeah, and I think it's also really interesting that I feel like can't speak for all the employers, but people do look for those skills more than, I guess, when educate. You can teach someone certain things, but like when it comes to soft skills and all interpersonal skills and having that confidence, that is just comes through practice and learning in that way. So if there's finance, I'll teach you a certain way of how I want things done, but for interpersonal, that's something, again, that you could pick up through any sort of internship. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a finance internship.
Exactly. You want to acquaint yourself. All right, before we go into the break, anything, Ms. Banderson, that you might want to share with us?
Just a reminder that this is a great opportunity to get your applications in. And you have just under 2 months left to apply.
All right. Well, when we come back, if there are other key dates to share, any reminders that you want, please do, because more and more we need to start appreciate that just like application deadlines for other things, just it's February, and honestly, I'm not saying this to be anything other than sobering. December 31st is not that far away. It may seem like we just said, right? It's tomorrow, right? All right. So we'll tell you more. Please rejoin us after the break.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Apply today to the Walker Scholarship and Legal Training Program. You will join the Walker Scholarship and Legal Training Program, knowing that you will be offered more, both throughout your time in the program and after qualifying as a Cayman Islands attorney at law. Preparing Caymanians for a career of excellence through mentorship, opportunities, repetition, and experience. Be sure to have your application submitted by 28th of February 2023. Visit the careers section at walkersglobal.com to find out more about Walker's Cayman legal scholarships, articles of clerkship, qualifying work experience, and legal internships.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. And I'm hoping that, through this example, as I said to your CEO, Mr. Charlie O'Connell, sometimes publicly, that through the demonstration of a good corporate citizen, there may be other entities, from the NGOs to the charities to the service clubs to the PTAs to the churches, but in particular those for-profit entities, that they'll take an example and say, how can we do more for our communities? Let's make more money for the shareholders, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Let's reward the employees for their excellent work and give them bonuses, that's great. Pay a dividend, that's fine. But the training of the staff, the educational, whether scholarships or internships, are key to the organization's success, but for the community. So I commend, CEC and its, can I say member companies? Would that be the, all your entities within the...
the SEC, yes.
I got to call them member companies from because that is where that training and learning and that opportunity for those of us who live, work here now can, maybe feel a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us more, Miss Bianca, because, time, they say, waits for no man. Maybe for women, but for no man, apparently. I know Alyssa's here that, the deadline is on the 11th, for the summer internship program. But other things are coming up that we need to know.
So this year we've partnered with Connect by Nova, which is Nova's recruitment nonprofit organizations, Connect. Mm-hmm. And we've partnered to offer a variety of workshops, so to very much get you internship ready and get you through hopefully the interviews and all that stuff that some people may be nervous about. So we have a variety. I believe, Alyssa, you have the workshops and dates.
Right. So I'll go through the workshop dates, and everything can be found on the website enterprisecayman.ky. So we have resume writing coming up on 8th of March, foundations of interviewing on the 12th of April, make the most of your internship on the 10th of May, financial literacy on the 14th of June, networking 101 on the 12th of July, and LinkedIn optimization on the 9th of August. Okay. And these are all online workshops as well. They all also start at 12 noon.
Okay. And just maybe for my own edification, because everybody else probably knows, 2 quick questions. Mm-hmm. Is there a cost for these?
No, these are completely free.
So civil servants, with our money that we make, can afford this case. I should be careful. It's only Monday. I still got 4 more days. And then secondly, is it only available to some? Can we all access them?
So they are available to all. They're ideally aimed at career changers and graduates. They're looking to, get into the career field coming up, or any internships or anything like that are coming up as well.
I know you shared this with me, and I had a teacher who said, if I can give you the lesson in a little bit of a more jovial way, you might remember it. So it worked for me. Hopefully others. And in saying that, so our high school leavers, or college grads, or students who are in university, whether they would be able to access online, I guess, sign up and register for it is free.
Right, so you can go onto the website, enterprisecayman.ky, and secure your spot through there.
Yeah. And this is noon, whatever time zone we are, but in Cayman.
12 noon Cayman.
So if you're in the UK somewhere, that's either 5 or 6 p.m.
Right.
If you're in California, I think it's 2 or 3 hours behind us.
Behind.
Noon Cayman time.
Yes.
I'm not sure what the time would be different in West Bay, but there's a different time zone in West Bay. But it's and the bracket isn't half of a difference. But noon Cayman time, and then we can pass this along to our children, the friends of our children in universities.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And anybody just wishing to brush up on those skills as well.
Because the LinkedIn, the idea of financial literacy, there's always something that we can learn. And again, I commend you for helping us, because it's maybe free to us as the participant.
Yes.
But even if the person who's presenting it or the people, there's still a cost to them, their time.
Taking the time.
Yeah. But plus, it's paid by somebody, so.
Yes. Some are not fine.
Listen, the only free lunch is the one that's not eaten. Because someone else for eating that one paying for it.
Yeah.
Right. So resume writing, and then all the way through from March 8th, which is a nice day. So Wednesday, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. To the 9th of August, the LinkedIn optimization.
Yes.
Ms. Teja, if you would allow me to ask, if these workshops were, someone from like Miss Bianca or Miss Alice had come into your school when you were a student in high school, and they were presenting these to you, you can ask 2 questions. One, are any of these that you immediately want to take? Oh, thanks. And then secondly is, are any of these, what is that? Because I wouldn't know what LinkedIn was, I thought, anyway. But all right, so those 2 questions, are there some that jump out at you immediately? Yeah, I want to know what that is.
Yes, definitely. So if somebody gave me these in high school, I would probably swap these out for a class or something, because these are skills that as young professionals we definitely want these skills. And it's kind of like how you hear Americans talk about they don't teach us taxes in school. So having these kinds of workshops that help you develop as a professional to go into the professional world, having you a bit more prepared for things like resume writing, what to do in an interview, I think it's a valuable opportunity. Personally, I've already signed up for the financial literacy one. Yeah. I did a bit of LinkedIn optimization under Bianca and Caitlin in my internship, so I'm definitely going to sign up for that one as well. And having been in 1 or 2 of the NOVA workshops before, knowing that this one's in partnership with CEC, I'm excited to see what they bring to the table and what new changes there are.
Yeah, and thanks for that. I mean, you trained her well, ladies.
Yeah, she's excellent. I want to quote everything she's saying.
And I really appreciate you sharing, because I think many times we as adults who are already in their careers, whether it's the teacher trying to impart something or it's the parent, the child may well be, on his or her way, but there are little things that you can learn. And the financial literacy, I think oftentimes we ignore how important that is. I don't think anybody has checkbooks anymore, but just understanding how to manage yourself, how to budget, but it goes beyond that. So as we wrap up our discussion, Ms. Anderson, from your perspective, you provided an opportunity for many of our students, from the internship to the these workshops and training, to the idea that we get a chance to appreciate. We think we know what we want. We may be convinced, but there's always something that can add greater value to our, attaining our goals, but the fulfillment we get from that career path.
Yeah, I think these are great tools, and they're something that everybody should be jumping at, to take up this opportunity. Like I said, like you said, you might think you have it all figured out, but there's always room for, more knowledge.
Well, I love to bake and I love to eat even more. But I find that even though you treasure the recipe that tried and true, sometimes just tweaking it a bit, a little more cinnamon, perhaps maybe you won't add in the cinnamon at all, just to see what happens, And as long as you're not sharing it with your mother who's going to critique it, it's okay. Bianca, from that idea, what do we say, in sort of to these opportunities that are being provided from their internship to their the webinars to the notion that maybe through CEC we're not just encouraging diverse thinking towards the career path. That person who may want to be a lawyer because 5 generations prior were lawyers, but may not necessarily want to be an advocate in a legal setting, may want to get into something more creative.
Yeah. I would say that, that now it's amazing, CC being able to bring these sort of jobs that maybe a couple years ago you wouldn't necessarily have found here. So it's great. And that's to say, if you still want to be a lawyer, you could be a lawyer in specifically the tech sector and be the lawyer for a tech company within the special economic zone. So it's not to say that you have to just want to be doing blockchain or game design. You could still have, if you want to go into law school, go to that and then still work for these exciting sort of companies. You could very much play again by doing an internship, see what sort of sector you want to go into. It doesn't have to be the traditional one. And then I also wanted to really highlight that once you apply to the internship program, you are kind of already part of our network. So this is really important because we're constantly having these new webinars or sponsoring conferences, and we always go back to our database and invite the people that have applied to our internship program. So maybe if you don't go through with an internship, you could next year be invited to one of the tech conferences that we're sponsoring. So this is, again, really big because once we have your email, well, okay. I'm joking. But we do invite you to all these other great opportunities that we offer. So we have the networking event in the summer. We have all these online workshops. We do a lot of tech conferences. So it does open up an array of different possibilities, and it's not just the internship program.
I know you had shared that they all start at midday. And they are webinars, word is coming to Lexicon in the last few years. So how long do they last for those who are trying to figure out, do I need to do this on my lunchtime? Do I need to make sure that I'm up by that time? They're an hour long.
Hopefully you're up by 12.
I'm trying to be. I have this thing I do at midday, so I'm trying to. Nah, just kidding.
So Alyssa, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're about an hour?
Yeah, an hour-long workshop.
Yeah. And thanks for emphasizing that. The reason why I ask that, sometimes we don't appreciate that even though you're not sitting in the classroom, you have the convenience of being where you want to be.
Right.
But they're beneficial. You're getting a lecture if you're a student in a university setting. If you're a professional used to going to some symposium, this is akin to that. Just a little bit more convenient. You can have your lunch at your desk. You can be totally attentive. All right. May I then invite final thoughts, perhaps first from you, as we were asking about this? What would you, in closing, want to say to primarily, your peers about internships, the webinars, careers, anything you wish to share?
I'd say if you have the opportunity, you should definitely take it. Apply to the internship at the Cayman Enterprise City internship. As Bianca mentioned, even if you don't get the internship, you're still a part of the network, and that still opens up many opportunities to you that you wouldn't have outside of it. And these webinars are a great opportunity, like was mentioned, to grow yourself as a professional, prepare yourself for the working world. Help to give you an edge that you wouldn't have on your own. Teach you things like resume writing, how to definitely land that interview, and also how to get the most out of your internship. So it's an opportunity. I think anyone who has a chance to, they should take advantage of it.
Indeed. And Ms. Manderson, your closing thoughts, Mom?
Well, I'm just going to co-sign on everything that she said, and just giving a reminder that just. How would I phrase it? Take a chance on yourself. You might not feel like you have the strongest resume or that you have everything that's needed, but just take a chance, apply for the internship, sign up for some of these great workshops, and yeah.
Nothing venture, nothing gain, right?
Right, exactly.
Ms. Bianca?
Yeah, you can never have too much experience, so definitely take this amazing opportunity. It's right at your doorstep, and
Well, I'm hoping that other entities would follow suit and be those continued corporate citizens that we see who are doing good. As students, we don't take for granted ignore the opportunities that are available to us, and appreciate that there's more on offer here in Cayman that we appreciate and value. So hope this week is a very enjoyable, productive one.
Yes.
And as the rain falls, the sun will shine as well. Yes. All right, I'm going to pause and take a break, and when we come back, I'll be here. Will you? Well, stay tuned.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. As announced, Their Royal Highnesses the Earl and Countess of Wessex are set to arrive today, February 20th, for an official visit. They will be met on arrival by His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, and Honourable Premier Wayne Panton, and will receive a royal salute, inspect the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, and meet key government officials. In international news, a panel of the Japanese Justice Ministry has proposed raising the age of consent from 13 to 16. It forms part of a wider overhaul of Japan's laws on sex crimes after multiple rape acquittals in 2019 caused outcry. The proposal also aims to criminalize the grooming of minors and expand the definition of rape. The statute of limitations for reporting rape will also be increased to 15 from 10 years. Art lovers in Miami looked on in horror on Thursday night when a collector accidentally knocked a $42,000 sculpture by U.S. pop artist Jeff Koons to the ground. She had tapped it with her finger, witnesses at the event said. The statue, one of Koons' iconic dog balloons, smashed into tiny shards and had to be swept into dustpans by gallery staff. The accident happened during the exclusive VIP-only opening night of Art Wynwood, a contemporary art fair held annually in Miami, Florida. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
HSA's cardiology clinic is now located at Smith Road Medical Center. Our cardiology team provides expert care and treatment for heart conditions such as coronary artery disease, heart failure, arrhythmias, hypertension, congenital heart diseases, among others. The new location offers state-of-the-art cardiac diagnostic testing, including echocardiograms, ECGs, and stress tests. To contact, call 949-8600. At HSA, your heart matters to us.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born in Creek, Cayman Brac on the 25th of September 1939, Henry Mansfield Connolly was the third of 8 children for Henry Kitchener and Olive Connolly. Following a 30-year career with National Bulk Carriers, he was one of few Brackers who worked with Cayman Energy Company doing the ship-to-ship oil transfers off the island in the 1980s. Following a medical injury, he retired from sea and started his own plumbing engineer company, C&H Plumbing, which he owned for 16 years. Prior to relocating to Grand Cayman, he was a volunteer during hurricane emergencies, assisting with the safety of the elderly in his district. Mr. Connolly was one of the original band members of the famous Brac Beach Boys, a member of the Sister Islands Veterans and Seaman Society, and also a member of the Seafarers Association on Grand Cayman. In 2003, he was one of 500 Seamen Medal honorees for their contribution to the Southwell years.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land.
Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. It's going to be some open line now. Not? Nah. We have guest schedule, but as I'm reminded, live radio means the show must go on, and I'm always honored to be given this position of privilege and honor to sit here, facilitate, hopefully at times help to navigate the discussions. But it's important that as a people, we take what's before us with a view of trying to ensure that our discussions are informative, are instructive, are such that it encourages and maybe not just inspires and nurtures, but causes people to think, be very pensive as they deliberate and come from a considered perspective. So, with that in mind, is there anything on your mind? Is there anything that you want to share? Is this not only a call to action, but a desire to ensure that as we look at the unfolding geopolitical landscape, as we look at even what is happening around our own neighborhoods, in our own homes perhaps, in our companies, are we asking ourselves, some of the things that we may be inclined to ask if we were, in our minds, given a little bit more luxury of time to just sit and to be pensive? Are we in that very, setting so busy that we don't have the time to even think about that? We need to get this deadline, we need to make ends meet, or we're rushing to and fro, and in so doing, is that part of the challenge? We're so busy with everything before us that we don't necessarily have time for anything else other than that which is perhaps pressing. But then the question is the thing that is pressing urgent and important? Is it important but not urgent? As we look at it, we need to perhaps be able to evaluate something from the perspective that we give priority to everything. Sort of not only how we organize our day from the foods that we eat. Some of us absolutely do not have anything sweet, with any meal, or if we do, it's on a special occasion. For some of us, a meal without a sweet treat after, we call it dessert, we feel like we have not had anything to eat if we don't have that little sweet, after our meal. And then there are a few of us who might say, well, no matter how much I eat, or whether I eat or not, I want that sweet treat, so perhaps I've started to eat that first. I say that to share that in speaking to someone, and tomorrow, if you remind me, we're going to have some nutritionists from the HSA, as we talk about some of the things, and it's something I may be asking. An individual decided that as they look at their meal and try to make it a balanced plate, the joke was initially, they look at it and how well do they balance it in their hand. So they put as much, meat on one side as they do bread kind, so the plate doesn't tip over. And you can laugh if you wish, thank you. But share that, why not eat the things that you like? Be wise about it, but instead of engorge yourself in everything in order to get that treat, maybe eat some of that first. He said that his grandfather had always, with the beef and the bread kind, a little piece of cassava cake, and would eat it alongside, not after, but together. Well, in thinking about that, I was wondering, as I was reflecting on the Cayman landscape and questioning, are we seeing a greater sense of unity or growing disquiet? Are we seeing a Cayman that is looking at the great potential that exists and offering to our young people every possible support to nurture them so that they can live that fulfilled, rewarding life? Or is it, as some of you have been apt to share more frequently, that we're growing divided? That is a space where we're seeing people operate in silos, and we're allowing ourselves to, be pitted one against the other. Insofar that in some instances, as a final lady reminded me just recently, that we are at times not just rewarding and elevating, but promoting at the expense of others those individuals who do not, at that present time, have the skill set. So they lack the expertise, but they also lack the experience, but they also lack, and if I, repeat it correctly, they lack the nexus, the connectivity, the, attachment to the society. They just happen to be positioned either in the right place at the right time, or know the right people, and so therefore can benefit from this thing. And oftentimes we may not only be doing that person a great disservice, but we're displacing others. She gave a number of examples. Now, in her, absolute professionalism, she didn't name individuals nor entities, but just generally spoke to issues, and she gave, whether it was in the educational arena relative to opportunities, whether it was employment, and in some instances even athletic endeavors, where certain people were afforded certain opportunities only because, and we who listen perhaps drew inference, so I'll insert some of the words, the connections that they may have, not because they were the most deserving, certainly in many instances, not because they had the, better skill set. Now, are you familiar with things that are happening? And if that is something, is it becoming a norm? If it is something, is it a way to ensure? And this is where at times I've found individuals take issue with my point. I believe any and all should get an opportunity, and any and all who are given an opportunity, if they're willing to take it on board, they can learn, they can improve, they can become, much more adept at that thing. The question is, are we consciously, and sometimes sadly maliciously, putting and castigating some, to the margin at the, expense of them? Others get to prosper. Some listening would say, well, that's an age-old thing. That's nothing new. It's not unique to Cayman. But if we're a relatively small population, and just for ease of, statistical analysis, let's say we are at 100,000 people. Whether one day we're twice that or 10 times that, relative to other places, is still a relatively small, number of people. Yes, the increase in population, the increased traffic congestion, the growing frustration that we may have at times trying to get to work or from work or the like, can cause us to feel a bit of angst. But is the answer in castigating people, whether it's the increased populace or it's the failure of the politician or the politically appointed, is it that we are not as a people giving thought to what we can do? As a quick aside, we talk about the traffic congestion and too many cars on the road. Well, are the cars driving themselves? Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Okay, just a minute. Hold on, please.
Yes, sir. How are you? And as we, welcome your call, it's always inspiring, and for me, it's always beneficial to be able to listen to others' perspective, because sometimes they confirm your own, sometimes they challenge your own, sometimes they are so ingenious that you realize, wow, we have some incredibly insightful people. Are you ready for us, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. I am, thank God, I am highly favored blessed, very healthy. It's just amazing how even the biggest sinner amongst us can find favor.
Exactly. So true. Yeah, I'm up here in the North Coast, just enjoying the lovely sea breeze, man.
Wow. Can you bottle some and send it down? Man, I'll be honest with you. It's not something that I have done in a long, long time, and I hope that by saying it, it doesn't make others have a negative view. But I long for the day to be able to sit on the North Sound at the helm of a small little sailboat and just look back at Barkas and go, man, what a wonderful place, and taste our salt air.
I'm going to give you some hope and encouragement.
Would you please?
Good. There is a little saying that goes, if salvation was a thing that money could buy, the rich would live and the poor would die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That is precisely so correct. You know? But what I want to say, I just heard you talking about, people, they don't listen to the average man on the street.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so publicly. Some people are too big to be told. Apparently it has to come from overseas or some other country before we can recognize what is necessary, what
Mm-hmm.
to be done. Take the idea or the thing about the chickens and the cats. All right, just leave that where it is.
Right.
Because that is proposed by, I assume, somebody from the outside. But what I want to say publicly today, for ever so long, I was trying to get the message across on the Georgetown dock. Some days you have 12, 14, 15,000 people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Beside workers and bus and taxi drivers. I say this because I remember a few years back, not too long ago,
Mm-hmm.
a good friend of mine was a taxi driver, George, we call him Lulu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He dropped down on the dock with a heart attack. My understanding is that he was practically dead, or he did die before they could even get him an ambulance. Now, let's try to make sense out of nonsense. My take is this. We should have a mobile unit, medical unit, on that dock at any given time. When you have people coming off the ship, somebody could just have an emergency issue. You got to call the ambulance to take them to the hospital. I don't think that is good enough. I think you should have that facility there, even if it's not what you need, but it gives some kind of impression if they need CPR, the respiratory.
So this would be on those high days of cruise ship passengers. I want to make sure I'm following you, that we would station somewhere near the cruise dock these medical personnel who would be able to, just in the case something happens, to respond more quickly while the ambulance and EMTs are summoned?
Not necessarily the high days with abundance of visitors.
Okay.
Any given day, if you got one ship, even because you never know who's going to befall.
Okay.
So they should have a medical mobile facility there at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
It is not impossible that if something is not done and somebody gets ill and has to be taken away to the hospital, you got some smart-ass lawyers might want to put a case and say, well, it was a delay, and if they had facilities and the dock might have saved their life, because there's tricks and trades in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I say this with all good intention, that I think the authorities that be, it's okay to pay Cardinal Avenues, nothing wrong with it. But I say to get some sort of a medical mobile facility there should be a must, you know.
Well, you know, as I listen to you, the idea that we're trying to increasingly think about the safety, health, security, welfare, and like of all our people, from the visitor to the resident, your opinion perhaps warrants some further consideration. Maybe, as some have suggested, maybe extend it to some sort of lifeguard patrol along the beaches. But then, if you'll allow me to ask, in that endeavor, as you referenced the lawyers, would some say, well, you anticipate this, so there's even an increased sense of liability because you put one person or one team, but you should have put 10. You know, you should have reasonably foreseen it. I mean, you try to do good, and more people may find a way to beat you for not doing better.
Your point is taken, but at least.
Mm-hmm.
They say where there is a will, there is a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you can have a lifeguard on every facility on 7 Mile Beach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But those that occupy the beach as well, the condominium and the tourists, the hotels, they indeed should give some financial contribution to this cause, as you say, if it's necessary. And I think it is necessary because it's not good for all those people to be on the beach and you don't have any type of a lifeguard or anything there. We have lost a few people through that same situation I'm talking about. So it is high time that we look into these things, whether it's the beach, the dock, but something needs to be certainly looked into in short order.
Well, you know, when we make these suggestions, I think sometimes we see them, and I say this as I read a message from one of our listeners, we say them because it's something that we thought about for a long time. We assume others would see how obvious and essential that it is. But perhaps, again, back to my earlier comment, we're so preoccupied with other things that we no longer necessarily get time to even think as pensively as we want. So I really appreciate you put that in the public domain, not just the responsible ministry for health or for tourism or like, but maybe others, maybe some other mechanism can be employed to ensure that we're, as much as possible, ensuring that people are as healthy, and we can provide that level of responsiveness as immediate as possible.
Yeah, I think we have lost enough lives, whether it was accidentally or whether it was carelessly.
Mm-hmm.
But something should be looked into this situation, because I see that is going to be more of these casualties happening if something is not looked into in short order.
If you wish to answer, and if you have time to consider, we see now that more and more visitors come back on the cruise, and unfortunately media reports elderly person is out snorkeling or diving or somewhere in the water and succumbs shortly thereafter after some element of difficulty. Do you think there should be some sort of health check, health test, some sort of warning, something more than maybe that is already there, if there's anything? Because swimming can be fun, but it could be exerting sometimes, and maybe we're not aware of our ill health or the strenuousness of the activity, and then we're out there and we're no longer here.
Exactly. That's another point that should be taken seriously, that especially if people are getting up in age, 70, 80 years old and going there, they're talking about diving. They should have some sort of a health check or some kind of a screening before they can get on a boat next morning and go there, you know.
Yeah, well, that's a lot, and maybe part of the. I appreciate what you shared. Maybe part of the problem is that we're so busy putting out fires, we're making ends meet, that there's no longer the luxury of time to sit and think, to reason and to rationalize and try to come up with things that could actually add value to our lives and improve the quality of our lives. Maybe that's the trick of the enemy. Keep us so busy that we no longer have time to engage and interact, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to have to leave. But,
yes, sir. Thank you.
I will say that, if we're not careful, we can get a sort of a bad reputation that people are disappearing right, left, and center. So that's another a note of caution. I just want to bring to that attention as well.
Right. Well, thank you for that, sir.
You're quite welcome, and have a pleasant afternoon, Dwayne.
You do as well, and I'm hoping to chat with you as you have time. So take care.
Wait till the mango season, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
I'll make a note. Thank you, sir. And this is what is amazing. A good friend shared, of her papa recently, and it was probably the sweetest, from the baked goods from the oven, the cookie and the like. We're a generous, hospitable people that find a true breaking bread and sharing of our provisions. Shouldn't be something that we take lightly enough for granted or to ignore how important it is. And as the caller reminds us, here's a thought, could we do more looking after the health, safety and welfare of others? His comment is probably just to spark an interesting discussion. Before we go to the break though, let's take this other call. Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and your esteemed listeners. How are you today?
Oh, man. Excellent. How about yourself?
I think I'm good. It was good to see the young people you had on who were talking about preparing resumes and so on.
Thank you.
They seem to be so young, and yet already they are participating in this and trying to help in imparting that knowledge to other young people. That was very good to see.
Yeah. But I hope their parents are young wasn't because they're sitting next to me now. I mean, hopefully we all look young. Just kidding.
We are entitled to imagine that we are younger than we really are, but all I ask for is I should look my age. I don't try to look younger,
Age is just a number.
Age is just a number, sometimes it's just in the head.
Yep.
There's something I want to just sort of chime in on, which is the sentencing issues in Cayman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to relate this to the impending sentencing of a young lady, the Miss Cayman. But before I mention that, you see that there's a case which was reported in another forum. This was a gentleman who's been in Cayman since 2019. An altercation happened at a club. This seems to be a young man. He was a DJ, part-time DJ, and he had an argument with somebody who kept saying, "Can you play this song for me?" and so on and so forth. So he lost his temper, pulled a knife, and stabbed this man 4 times. And the consequences of that have been very bad, because the man lost like $4,100 in wages, and then he could only work part-time, and then because he was away from work so long, he lost his job. And I believe that he will still have some long-term effects arising from that. So he was charged with, the person was charged with assault ADH, and he was sentenced to no jail time at all. Yeah, according to the practice, to the sentencing guidelines as indicated in the case itself, that offense normally starts like at 3 years. That's where they start a custodial sentence for 3 years. Then it will go up or go down depending on aggravating or mitigating circumstances.
Right.
But in this case, the only real mitigating circumstance was that he showed remorse and he was already starting to pay like about $21,000 in medical expenses, which the other guy incurred. But if you look at the aggravating side, it was even worse because he has another conviction in the past for assaulting a member of the family, and the hurt he has caused on the other parties is so much.
Right.
So when I look at that, then I say, okay, we are waiting for the sentencing of Ms. Cayman. I think the young lady will have a problem avoiding jail for breach of probation, because once you breach probation, they can give you more probation, okay? Because then it doesn't make sense. But I wonder whether she will be sentenced to a jail term for these other offenses she committed afresh. Because to me, when you look at what she did, I don't want to make light of her behavior or the harm that was done to the other side. But even if you lump them together, they pale in comparison to what this person has done, who stabbed somebody who could have killed him.
Right.
And hasn't gone to jail. So what are you going to say about Ms. Cayman? Are you going to say that she should go to jail for doing something that was even less than the other person?
Yeah.
I would find that very, very, very interesting, and I think it's a good way to look at these matters and see. Because to me, if Ms. Cayman is given for these new offenses which she has been convicted, if she is given to me even a month or 2 months custodial sentence, it will look excessive in light of how the other person has gotten away with it.
Right.
And I'm not even saying that she should get what sentence she should get. I mean, she's going to be sentenced according to what the judge thinks. But to me, it is good to compare the two and use it as a way in which we can discuss this. In my view, that other person got off very lightly, and I think I would really want to know why the judge decided that he should not go to jail at all. And this is the same problem like with firearms as well. You know, some people go to jail for 7 or 10 years. Some people just wind up with a fine. It's a discussion that I think we need to have.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it, and I'll ask you for one quick second and thank our gentlemen across the table. I know we have our segment on education and local scholarship application momentarily, but given you being such a public advocate, being a legal advocate, and also the court, you know, a former or legislative draftsman and the like, these are discussions that are important. I sort of looked at this in a couple of times, and maybe I'll reach out to you for a much more, you know, informative discussion. But in saying that, to set up the discussion for future, is it then sometimes the way the charge is laid? Is it a decision, okay, we're going to bring this charge as opposed to that one? And then in instances, if it's a jury trial, the judge may direct the jury using particular language that when the jury constructs it in a certain way, they may draw an inference and then lead to a conclusion. Is that something that we need to look at, just like the language of the law, how it's written, perhaps the way the judge's instructions to the jury, so that it's clear, very precise, very simple, ordinary language, without any leading, if those are words that I could use? Are those things also important?
Well, you know, Dwayne, they are very, very important, and they are important, as you will know, not just in the area of like the judge giving what is called the charge to the jury. The charge to the jury is just the instruction to the jury.
Right.
Yeah, to say, well, this is what the law says, and then the judge will also say what the facts are to try and summarize it for them, and then they make the decision. Now, first of all, it is very important for judges, and judges are always encouraged to use as much as possible non-technical language, and that's an issue, as you know, which exists also in issues relating to writing legislation, writing contracts. You know,
right.
in Australia, for example, a lot of people have made money by taking all the leases and the contracts and all those private documents where they have standard form documents. They have written them in a plain language, you know, so that, you know, people can understand them. And people have made a lot of money doing that. And in courts as well, there is an encouragement now for judges to use simple language in charging to in giving the charge to the jury. But the last thing I should say about this is that, you see, I have my problems with the system as a whole, the jury system, Because I went to law school and I studied criminal law, and I was told, well, this is what murder is, this is what manslaughter is, this is what provocation is in a technical legal sense, and so on. And then, like, I would get it wrong in one assignment, maybe half right, until finally I get it correctly. And yet, a jury, you ask people without legal training, most of them don't have legal training, you ask them as a judge that they should apply the law to the facts for you. I have a problem with that because a lot of times the jurors really don't understand. That is not something they are equipped to do. But you know the way it is, they say that since Jesus Christ, when he comes, he will judge the world. Using 12 disciples, they decided to start that system somewhere else, and I think it's got some fundamental problems. That's why, as you know, in the United States, some of the places they try to eliminate the jury because sometimes juries are affected too much by emotion.
Well, probably even that jury of X versus the one sitting judge. At our next discussion, we'll perhaps come up with something. I'll reach out to you, look out for a message. Hey, thank you very much, Mr. Zawamba. Thank you indeed. And thanks to Paul for giving us that almost 7 minutes into this segment. When we come back, though, you want to know how to apply for educational funding? Well, Dr. Nicole Thomason from the Scholarship Secretariat will be with us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For the record. For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And if I might, and then if you say no, you've been a little too complimentary, well, you tell me and I'll try to either justify it or get you to see why. We have a fantastic team in the civil service, and with great deference to the higher-ups in all the leadership, I believe they would say, as I would, that it's because of the fantastic team why they look good at their jobs as HODs, as well, we used to call them PSs, now COs, and as the DG would share. That's what makes us world class, that fantastic team all the way down. And now the acting manager with the Scholarship Secretariat Unit, Dr. Nicole Thompson. Could I, on behalf of parents and students everywhere, you guys do a fantastic job. I don't know how you manage. I don't want to call out, Miss McLean and anything, but her and others. How you all do it, where you find time, the way you respond to all of us as if we're the only person that you in government is what $50 billion in education scholarships that we've done to 5 million students. It seems that way, right?
And sometimes it does daily. It feels like that.
Yeah.
Those are the numbers we're dealing with. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for the compliments.
No, thank you for doing what you do. Honestly, thank you very much. I hope this is not, honestly, seen as a political statement, because it isn't. It is my honest belief. The main pillars, and perhaps the only two that value anything in a society, not diamonds or gold or oil or any kind of mining manufacturing, is not even with great respect to the Cayman context, the hospitality sector and our financial services. They're simple. A strong, robust education system, a strong, robust healthcare system. Without a healthy, educated populace, where would we be? And you guys, help to facilitate the government's, budget allocations so our students get proper instruction. And today, we have the local application process. I want to ensure that we understand what that means, because some of us would think, well, is that what it means? Well, you will tell us, right, Dr. Nicole?
Certainly.
Alrighty.
As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you, sir. And we always look forward to every opportunity to talk about what we do.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is that we don't want persons to say that they did not know. Even up to today, we had someone calling in and saying, I wasn't aware that this is what I was supposed to do. And we constantly make ourselves available.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we are in the midst of the overseas reviews, so we're getting calls about those as well. What's that process like? And I'll probably mention that a little bit later on as well.
Yes, well.
But in terms of the locals, we really want to focus on that today. And the first thing you ask about, what is that?
Yeah.
And essentially, a local scholarship allows you to pursue studies at one of the local institutions. And right now, the local institutions that we cover include the University College of the Cayman Islands, most frequently referred to as UCCI, the International College of the Cayman Islands, ICCI, University of the West Indies Open Campus. Now, some people may not even be aware that there's a University of the West Indies on island, but there's an open campus option, which is not the same as, like, say, if you're going to Mona or Cave Hill or St. Augustine. And there are a couple there's one in the Bahamas and I think one of the other islands as well. But they're actually located on the compound of UCCI. And even if you do some Google research on them, or if you decide to go across there and see what they have to offer, that's another option that we cover in local scholarship. We also cover Cayman Career Academy, which is more of a TVET option in terms of beautician and massage therapy and those kinds of courses. And we also cover the Truman Law School. So those would be our tertiary level institutions that we cover.
Okay.
On the post-secondary level, because we do both post-secondary and tertiary, post-secondary level is a little bit different, because post-secondary are students who have basically completed their compulsory schooling. So, for example, if they're going to one of the private schools, say Cayman Prep or St. Ignatius or Cayman Academy, they've actually graduated from their O-levels, so their GCSEs at that point, but they're continuing at studies at the secondary level. So those post-secondary options include A-levels, they include CAPE, they include the International Baccalaureate, they include the BTEC programs, Level 3 BTEC, and they include advanced placements. Now, some of these are offered locally, some are not. And oftentimes we'll get conversations about, what if my child wants to go overseas and do A-levels? Or they want to go overseas and do the IBs or the APs? We would tell you to please, first of all, apply. Apply. The application opens from March 1st and it closes on April 30th. When you apply, we can then look at what your options are. So, for example, if you want your child to go to the UK to do A-levels, what we would prefer is that if that is the option you're choosing, these are very young children still. We're looking at 15, 16-year-olds. The initial option is, of course, to see if they can do that A-level combination locally. If it's not possible locally, we would ask you to prove that. So you would have to have reached out to the schools and they say this combination isn't available locally. And at that point, we can review them and determine if they fit the criteria and if it's approved to go overseas. And you'll get the same level of funding as you would locally. So it's not that the door is closed, but we are aware that sending 15, 16-year-olds overseas, you as a parent, that's a challenge for the child as well. So we really want to know that you have really considered that option before we just grant it.
And with that, if I may just stick with A-levels, simply because I'm a little bit more familiar with them.
Yes.
Let's say the student wants to go and we'll use the UK. I don't know if A levels are offered anywhere else, but the UK. And you mentioned the combination. So if something in science, for instance, and it's not available here, that'll be okay.
Yeah.
But if it's also maybe the school here has 30 spaces and only 30, but you were number 31. It's offered, but you just can't get in because physically it's not there.
Right, and that is why we request that they have actually followed those options through.
Right, okay.
So we kind of need that supporting evidence to say, okay, then this is something we can look at, because we would prefer the local option to be best. And that brings up an interesting point as well, reaching out to the local schools, because when our application is fully online, all the documents are to be uploaded. One of the biggest documents that sometimes people complain about is this acceptance letter. We get it all the time at the overseas level and even locally. We actually say an acceptance letter or proof of having applied.
Yeah.
Because we recognize that by the time we close on April 30th, or by the time you submit your application, because some people like to get it done early, and that's great, you may not have a confirmed acceptance letter. That's fine. We just need to know that you have actually reached out to the institution.
Right.
So like with the A-level situation, and the schools welcome this as well, because they need to plan their numbers. As you say, they need to know, okay, if the class is generally 30, but we may need to increase that to 40, then they have that in place as well.
Yeah.
So we do encourage parents and students themselves to reach out to the institutions and have some confirmation that you have actually applied for the A-level program, or applied for the UCCI program, or applied for the ICCI program. As I said, it doesn't have to be a confirmed acceptance, but we need to know that you have reached out and you have at least put in an application.
Indeed. My good friend across the table with his hair almost like mine. Will you take the break, sir? Or we'll do that when they come. Hey, if you haven't gone on YouTube and go, you see the shining haircut. We're going to pause. When we come back, we're going to continue talking to Dr. Nicole Thompson, acting manager with the Scholarship Secretariat, about local scholarships, and remind you, how to apply, when to apply, and how much you'll get. It's $50 million. Okay, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new boneless hot sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
The Department of Agriculture would like to inform the community of the holiday closure hours for the plant nursery, sales office, and abattoir starting from the 20th of February in preparation of the upcoming Agriculture Show on Ash Wednesday, February 22nd. All offices will be closed on Ash Wednesday. For more information, visit doa.gov.ky or their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman.
Grand Cayman's biggest one-day family fun day is back! The 54th Annual Agricultural Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Ash Wednesday, February 22nd. Raffle tickets are on sale now. And for only $25, you can win $20,000 and so many other prizes. Raffle tickets include general admission to the show. For more information, visit them on Facebook or CaymanAgriculture.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. As we talk about the local scholarship application process, the acting manager over the Scholarship Secretariat, Dr. Nicole Thompson. Now, you said it just then that the application deadline opens, and of course, If Bob Marley said one door open, another shall close. But so it opens when, it closes when?
Right. So it opens on March 1st and closes on April 30th. The website, for those who might be listening and taking it down, is MOE Scholarships at, sorry, not at, moescholarships.gov.ky.
Yeah.
And if you're in any doubt, always send an email to scholarships@gov.ky. If we can send you the link, like if you didn't get that and you're not sure it's working for you, send us the link, send us an email and we'll follow up with the link. I do want to remind persons, however, that because we are partnering with eGov at this stage, you will need to create an eGovernment login in order to complete the application. And I do want to remind parents, especially for post-secondaries, who are very interested in the process, we need the application to be in your child's email and your child's name. That application or that login is going to be with them throughout the scholarship process, not just for locals, but oftentimes when they continue on to overseas, it's the same login. So they are saved in the system with that.
Would you help me as a parent to speak to parents? And I think from the example that I've seen from my parents, my siblings and my friends, that we need to be active, engaged, involved, informed parents. But through them, absolutely convinced that it's imperative as parents that we stay here, let the child do. The child navigate, understand, be that supporting thing. Unfortunately, sometimes, as much as we think their children are competent, we've seen them demonstrate it, we're not willing to give them the space to do it. If I can say to parents, their children can do this much better. Not just the technical part, that we don't know how to navigate the websites and whatever. They actually know what to do. It's beneficial for them. And as they get older and they have to manage, the email responses, you be there as a parent. They can come to ask you a question. You can provide your debit card and credit card from the pay for fees, but you let them do it. It's not just ownership. It actually helps you, because if you get it and you miss the email, you got 10,000 other things to pay. That child isn't paying attention to that thing. Let the child do it. Am I beating up on parents too much, Dr. Nicole?
No. We understand why parents want to be involved. I could not have said it better than you did. But
I think of the script. I read it.
But it's all about building that sense of responsibility and that discipline in the child. Because remember, even as we're talking about locals now, a lot of these local scholarship recipients, especially the post-secondary and the undergrads, are eventually going to go overseas where they're going to have to be doing these things on their own. Even though you may want to be as involved as possible, even with the overseas part of it, there is a certain day-to-day interaction that they're going to have to manage. So we work with you. We are here to support you. And if as a parent you feel that you're very concerned about what's going on with your child, definitely reach out. But as you said, we do want parents to kind of give their children that leeway, that space to get all these things done on their own. It's very important.
Thank you. I mean, we all have different approach. And, I'm honored that a child, and it's my child in particular, but if yours, would want you to be part of what they're doing. But it's so great to see the child exercise that level of independence and autonomy and competence, and you go, hey, that's my boy, that's my kid. And it helps you be more confident when they are not in your physical presence, when they may be in another jurisdiction. You're going to love them and miss them. At 100 years old, you're still going to love and miss them. But that's the way it is, And
the thing is, it's okay for them to make mistakes even when they're doing this now, because you would prefer the mistakes are made now, at this stage, rather than when they're on their own, and it can be even more catastrophic. But just to continue with that and that line, we actually do plan to visit all the local education institutions, and by those I mean the high schools and so on, who are preparing to go for these various local scholarships. And we want those meetings to be with parents as well where possible. So we provide an avenue for you to interact with us at the Secretariat, to ask your questions, even with your child there. I mean, sometimes the child will be cringing like, oh my gosh, I can't believe mom or dad asked that question. But there are no bad questions in our book. So if it is a concern that you have, whether it's with the process, with the application itself, and especially at those meetings, because you would find that a parent may say, oh, I'm afraid to ask this question because I may be the only person feeling like that. And there may be 5 or 6 others who are so glad that you asked because they were thinking, but they were confused about the same thing.
And what it reminds us too, even as adults, we see our children being exercise a bit of reticence, but adults do the same. I don't want to ask, that's a stupid question. Well, it will only be stupid if it goes unasked. we're talking about local scholarships, and something that I know you've addressed, but perhaps may need repetition. We're going to be in Cayman. We're sitting at our desk. Employers giving us time. We're at home. Maybe we're under the coconut tree in a hammock working. But the course is, you got this online thing these days, man. Amazing, huh? Hosted by some of the facility in some of the jurisdiction. Is that a local scholarship or an overseas scholarship?
No, that's considered overseas, because once the institution is essentially registered or based overseas, even though you may be sitting at home, as you say, under the coconut tree doing the classes, it actually falls under overseas application. And I think when Dr. Shari came and did those presentations would have been emphasized. If it is that you are still concerned about the program you want to get into, you can still write us and we can work through different things with you. So we don't want to have anybody feel that the door is closed. I do want to mention as well that even though I went through the names of several of our local institutions, one of the things we find, and I mean, Mr. Ebanks, you and I were talking about that briefly, that we want students when they start their programs to finish it. One of the things we're noticing sometimes comes up with local institutions is that students may start an associate degree, let's say, they get a job, they drop out. And education is partially for economic benefits in terms of skills and jobs, but there's so much more to education. And it's about teaching you to think critically, all these aspects of growth, interacting with persons, communicating. There are so many more skills that are involved, especially at the tertiary level. So even if you have started a degree and let's say you were on local scholarship at one point and it's been 12 months consecutively and you have not attended, we actually would encourage you to check with us and see if you need to reapply. Because if you've been out of school for, let's say, 2 years and you want to go back, that scholarship that you had back then would no longer be valid. So you would need to actually reach out to us, I would say as soon as possible, so that if you need to reapply during this application period, you can do so. If you have a approved withdrawal, because sometimes life happens, people have medical issues, different things, then you would have written us about that and we would have approved it. But we do want you to, if you're deciding to go back to school, and I do want to mention there's no upper age limit. Yes, you're never too old. We recognize that people at different times of their lives, they want to do different things. So if it is that you are, after many years of working and deciding, you know what, let me go back and get this qualification, let me go back and enjoy this process of learning, then definitely contact us or complete the application.
Okay. So no upper age. Is there a minimum age?
Because we have the post-secondary, actually, no. Okay. So it's once you have finished that level of study. So if you're finished with your GCSE exams, so I think it's year 11, it might be at the APs and IB stage, then yes, you can apply. So there's.
So who's eligible to apply?
Basically, anyone who is Caymanian. We do restrict that. That is one of the things. You do have to be Caymanian, and by Caymanian, we include Caymanian status holders.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we are requesting now, and I think it's becoming probably one of the standard documents in Cayman, which is that letter from immigration.
It's unfortunate.
Yes.
My bone of contention. But anyway, just
we're not
going to. No, we're not going to.
But it's just simpler, actually, we find, to have that one document rather than have 2 and 3 birth certificates, as we sometimes get, to prove the lineage. Yeah. So, I mean, Mr. Ebanks.
No, I love your staff, ma'am. That's not for you guys. That's for us to figure out how a country can identify its citizens. But we'll leave that discussion. So, Caymanian. What about permanent residents and the like? Right.
So, at this point, we do not fund permanent residents in our scholarships. As I said, it's really for Caymanians and Caymanian status holders only. And much of the reason for that is because we're looking to build the workforce in the island as much as possible. You have to also be domiciled. Now, often people ask, what do you mean by domicile? Again, we want the persons who are getting the scholarships to actually have ties to the Cayman Islands, to be living here if possible. Occasionally, we have students who have been residing overseas for most of their secondary school life, but their parents reside here. So they may be at boarding school overseas and so on, but they're coming home every vacation, every break from school, they're back here. So their ties are well established.
Right.
So we would recognize that they are not living here for educational purposes, and that's fine.
Right.
They would need to supply, of course, confirmation of that.
So those Caymanian children, again, Caymanians, whose parents are parent here, but for whatever reason is being educated elsewhere, they're still eligible because they're there for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They don't live in otherwise. They have a connection.
Yes, definitely. They haven't established a life and everything overseas.
We have the news break. You want to share more after the news?
Do you want me back, sir?
If you have more time, but only if it's of benefit to you, ma'am.
Yeah,
we can wrap it up now, or we can get some fish tea and come back and lime a little more. What do you want to do?
Yes, we'll be back for a little more.
Of course we will. This is the fantastic team. Through their own example of it, demonstrated the importance of continued education. Like Dr. Shari, we got Dr. Nicole. So we'll talk to you once we return.
Problem.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Minimum Wage Advisory Committee held their first meeting on the 25th of January 2023, and discussions began to look into the adequacy of the current minimum wage in the Cayman Islands. The MWAC is a committee comprised of a cross-section of representatives from various local associations, representing both employees and employers alike. In international news, the U.S. will back Ukraine in its fight against Russia for as long as it takes, President Joe Biden said as he made an unannounced and symbolic visit to the capital. Mr. Biden's first trip to Ukraine as president came days before the first anniversary of Russia's invasion. He said President Putin had been dead wrong to think Russia could outlast Ukraine and its Western allies. The U.S. says China is considering supplying weapons and ammunition to Russia for the Ukraine war, a claim strongly denied by Beijing. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Chinese firms were already providing non-lethal support to Russia, and new information suggested Beijing could provide lethal support. Such an escalation would mean serious consequences for China, he warned. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Between the traffic, the meetings, kids' activities, there just isn't enough time. Best Health Pharmacy was a game changer. Not only are they centrally located on Eastern Avenue, but they deliver prescriptions for free anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. I could not believe it. When my prescription ran out, they ran it back to me. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Edie's Decor, offering free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358. Best Health Pharmacy. Your health, your convenience is their priority.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks to Dr. Nicole Thompson, the acting manager over the Scholarship Secretariat. I hope that in my forthrightness that there's still a great sense of absolute respect, not just for education, for the process, for your team, but for the individuals, and that not even trying to be jovial when I say that you guys seem to work tirelessly, like many of our civil servants, helping to facilitate the education, navigate the scholarship application process, but to encourage. Only if you're on the receiving end do you realize it. I have permission to share with you a lady. She may or may not be a civil servant. She may or may not still be employed. We'll leave it at that. But I'll be careful to say a mature student. But let's just say she's on school leave. Just being encouraged from a discussion that we've had years ago, and taking up that opportunity to pursue something. So in saying that, she wanted us to encourage other women, but other, school leavers who've been out of school for a few years, to consider making the application. it's amazing what that little thing that you get that you always desired.
Mhm.
When you look back and feel how many hours of sacrifice, that is worth it. So it's commendable.
And you're right, it is a sacrifice. Anything that you're doing, even if you're full-time, it requires that determination, that discipline, that sacrifice. But the reward is worth it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we stumble along the way. Sometimes we feel like giving up. But then when you have that qualification, or you have reached that step, and you have something to show for it, you recognize what it was all worth. And that's why we encourage our students, whether it's compulsory, post-compulsory, tertiary, whatever you're doing, we encourage the society as a whole to never stop learning. You have never reached the pinnacle. We can all aim for something else. And I mean, skills come in various ways. Some of us may be academic, some of us may not be, some of us may be more along the technical vocational route. All those options are available. And many of these institutions I've mentioned actually have options in that area. So everything doesn't have to be purely along the academic pathway. But we really want persons to keep on striving for more, to have that confidence in themselves that they can accomplish, and not just be very passive and let life pass you by, because it's one life we have to live and we have to make the most of it.
It's one thing to live a life that is fulfilling.
Yes.
And I say this for my own benefit because I need to be reminded sometimes. But it's another to just go along, get along, and just exist. And for many of us, it's the things we read and learn that bring us joy. It's not about added economic benefit. It's about knowledge and learning. If I may ask, the overseas scholarship application process and the local scholarship application process, from the application and the whole way you go about it, very similar, and if not, what is different?
Right, so the two processes are quite similar. We actually give more time for the overseas because a lot more documents are required. And we actually ask for things like the recommendations and so forth, which we don't require at the local level. But the main parts of it are the same. Be Caymanian, have to put a photo. And by photo, we don't mean that you necessarily need to go out to a photo studio and get a photo. We allow a selfie, we don't want you. We want you to be appropriately attired. And I may just add, now that it came to me,
yes,
when creating your applications, and I'm speaking to students in particular, please don't use your school email. We have that frequently coming up. And what happens is that when you're no longer a part of that school, the email is no longer valid. So we ask you to create a generic email, use your Gmail, your Hotmail, whatever, and create a nice sounding email. We don't want hotgirl345 at wherever.
That was mine. That was supposed to be.
Well, we hope you wouldn't use it to apply for the scholarship. Keep that as your personal. But we do ask them to think about those little things as they go ahead.
If I might add to that, perhaps do what some of us have done specifically. Create one email for that purpose.
Right.
So anything and everything that comes to that is just you. That's that ding, that email is just for that.
Yeah.
And it helps to manage when you have multiple platforms, multiple things. I found that to be helpful for what it's worth.
And that's very important because we want you to be checking that email.
Yeah.
So we don't want our correspondence to be lost. We're both using, for both the overseas and locals, is the same. It's an online platform, a slightly different platform. But the information they're requiring is quite similar. And I know, talking about the benefits of using that, it's so much more convenient because we can actually see the documents that have been uploaded in our review process. So it makes it a much faster, much cleaner process for us. We do sometimes have students who get into challenges, some difficulty in completing the online application. They may find that documents are not uploading. We tend to give instructions along the way. So if you are uploading, say, a Word document or an Excel document and you require a PDF, it's not going to accept it. But there would have been an instruction that indicated what format the document should have been in. So double check that. But most of all, reach out to us. The application is open until the 30th of March. I'm not sure what day the 30th of March is, but I would remind...
April?
Sorry, 30th of April. My mistake. Thank you so much.
No, that's fine.
I do want to remind persons
Monday,
that we work... Oh, luckily.
I think so.
We finish work at 5.
Yeah.
So if you're having difficulties at 5:30 or 6 o'clock or 6:15, that's going to be a bit of an issue. We don't like students to leave it for the very last minute.
My mistake. It's a Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's even worse. because it's going to be an issue if you run into difficulties. So we do remind students, try to get your application done as soon as possible. Do not leave it for the last minute. We understand that you may be waiting on a couple documents, but the way it's set up is that you may have, I think it's about 10 tasks. You can get those tasks done in any order. So even if you've completed the your certificates, your transcripts, whatever is required, your academic history, you may have a letter of acceptance, you may have included a job letter, whether it's from a parent, a guardian, or if it's a mature applicant, you can even use your own job letter at that stage, or you may have completed your personal statement, which is just information that's entered. You don't have to upload anything, and you may be waiting on one document. Don't leave everything waiting on that one document, so that when you get that one document, hopefully by the Friday or earlier, you just have that one task to do. The application would not allow you to submit until you have completed all the mandatory tasks. There may be a couple things that are optional. So, for example, only work experience is relevant or required for postgraduates. So if you're doing a master's or a PhD at one of the institutions, then we would require some form of work experience. That's not required for everyone. All the applicants require a degree plan. That's normally a bit of a confusion.
Yeah.
What is a degree plan? Why do I need it? For the post-secondary students, it's simply the list of subjects that you'll be doing. So if you're doing math, chem, bio, that's the subjects you're pursuing. If it's one of the other institutions, that's more of a tertiary, like an associate degree, you can actually get the degree plan of the courses that you would need in order to complete that associate degree. And persons often ask, why does scholarship want that? Well, scholarship wants that because we want you to pay attention to it. You need to know, what classes do I need to complete to get this associate's degree or this bachelor's degree? Do I have to do Spanish? Do I have to do calculus? Do I have to do communications? It helps you in planning.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, I'm finding it helpful increasingly that as you repeat more on this, and I think as some parents who are probably listening, both for themselves, for future studies, or for their children, that may not be until next year or 3 years hence. But pay attention. It's never too early to start to take on board. Whether things change or not, you become familiar with it. I say that to share that years ago when you would have these meetings as you plan now to go to schools in the Georgetown Library. There's a meeting coming up. You go with your prospective student and you listen, you get an understanding of what expectations are, and you work towards it. In short order, the child's leaving high school. And
yes.
You don't realize it. So this helps us to appreciate it. But then the timeline is, Sunday, I'm told, the 30th of April.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Just to remind our listeners on the BRAC that the Scholarship Secretariat will be on the BRAC. I think it's the end of March, because there's a career fair at Lehman Scott. So we will be over there before, and we will be meeting with the high school students and parents as well. So please come with your questions at that time. We are there to
all
support.
local scholarships, whether A-level, IB, whether at the Truman Warden Law School or at UCCI at Open Campuses, at UV next, it's right on the campus of UCCI. ICCI too?
Yes, we fund ICCI as well.
And any course of study where you physically based there, because the program is physically based there. Now I ask that to emphasize that as you share with, say, A levels or IB, if that now has to transpire for whatever reason in another jurisdiction, that would be the only thing different, but still a local scholarship.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And I just want to also encourage persons who may be thinking of going part-time. You are also covered.
I was just going to ask, because I mean, it may be, let's say at the law school for argument's sake, work or other reasons financially. Now, the amount of funding, is it dependent on the program?
Yes, it's dependent on the program. In each case, we try to cover tuition, books, and the exam fees. So that's will be offered with the scholarship. But yes, it is dependent on the program. So different programs have different funding criteria, etc.
And hopefully I don't ask this improperly, but let's say, the person has satisfied the career, is accepted, the scholarship is granted, but the program costs X. Is there a maximum that they would get? Is it a percentage?
Okay, so what tends to happen is that For example, if the person is doing A-levels overseas, they will get the local equivalent of that amount. And just to indicate that for the local scholarships, we don't pay the individuals directly. The funds are paid into the institution. It's only in cases where it's an overseas system, and then there'll be a lot more steps that are involved in that, and then they will get the equivalent of the amount. And again, I can't go into maximum and minimums because they vary from year to year.
Yeah.
But just to know the tuition, books, and exam fees are covered. Yeah.
And then for the law school or UCCI, then the funds will be paid to the institutions as well.
Yeah.
You submit your invoice. It's X dollars. The scholarship secretariat through the treasurer will.
Yes. CIDB and so on. And just remember, it's an academic scholarship at this point. So, as we want you to take your studies seriously, and we want you to maintain a basic GPA criteria.
Right.
So, sometimes things may vary in terms of the acceptance, but we really hope the students will go and they will take the options that are available to them seriously. So we want you to maintain your GPA. If you are new to the system, we allow, I think, a 2.75, if I'm not mistaken. And we need you to be doing at least 2 courses. So even part-time, you should be doing at least 2 courses in some of these institutions. Some others, they may allow, in fact, no, across the board is at least 2 courses. And full-time maybe 4, depending on the institution, or even 3 in one institution. But we really encourage students to think about what they want to study and where they want to study. We call out several local institutions. Each of them have a bit of a different flavor, you know. Yes. So you have to really think where you are at, whether it's you're working and you have to get time off after work, whether you are a full-time student, you're not doing anything during the day and your parents are like, look, you're not going to sit at home in my house and run up my AC and watch Netflix all day. So we need you in an institution. So, each one is a little bit different. And we really want our students to stop and think and say, okay, which one suits my needs? And if you're not sure, give us a call at the secretariat or send us an email with a phone number. And we'll be happy to kind of go through with you and say, okay, this is what you want to achieve. This is where you're at now. These are our suggestions. So we're here to support.
Indeed. Now, I'm going to go into the final break. So 2 quick questions. You referenced the GPA, and some institutions may have a GPA in order to remain enrolled, but that GPA may be lower than the scholarship secretariat's GPA. In that case, it's the scholarship secretariat that prevails. So if it's 2.75 versus a 2.5, for instance, at the school, if you're not making the 2.75, your scholarship could put you on probation.
Right, yes,
Okay.
you can.
You want to come back after the break?
Sure.
You sure? You have time?
Yeah.
Paul, where's the fish tea?
A few minutes.
All right, we're going to end it at 2:30.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Nicole will sum it up for us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Ro Variety, centrally located in Tropical Plaza on Smith Road, carrying a wide range of household items, bathroom accessories, towels, clocks, handbags, clothes, shoes, jewelry, and more, and more, and more. You can buy from the big box retailers or support local. The better deals come from shopping local. Ro Variety Store, Tropical Plaza, Smith Road. Telephone 924-9553.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Dwayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Grand Cayman's biggest one-day family fun day is back. The 54th Annual Agricultural Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Ash Wednesday, February 22nd. Raffle tickets are on sale now. And for only $25, you can win $20,000 and so many other prizes. Raffle tickets include general admission to the show. For more information, visit them on Facebook or caymanagriculture.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks again. And thanks to Dr. Nicole Thompson, acting manager at the Scholarship Secretariat. Talking about local scholarships, she says it opens on the 1st of March, and we're reminded that it's the Sunday, April the 30th, at midnight, 11:59 p.m. I use the word portal, so you make sure because it's an online application. You upload the stuff, and if it's uploaded on or before 11:59 p.m. on the 30th, you're good. 12:01 could be a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Because actually, once you have submitted all your documents and you've uploaded, you will actually need to submit. There's a button that says submit. And once you have done that, you will actually receive an email that says your application is submitted and in the review stage. So make sure you get that. If there is any doubt by the Friday, which I think would be the 28th, please reach out and say, I think I've uploaded my application. I haven't seen an email. Could you just double check for us?
Okay.
Because we don't want people to be left out. We really don't want to have to be dealing with incomplete applications. We want everybody to have submitted and to go through the process.
And you share that, it's multiple steps, but you can partly do this one or maybe not this one at all because you're waiting for something, go to another one and then keep coming back.
Yes.
It's not sequential.
No, it's not. So we were actually told about that in years gone by. We had it sequential.
Yes.
But we actually freed that up. So we're giving persons the option to complete them in any order. So we want you to get in there, and there are some things which are easier than others. I mean, the first task is just to admit that you have read these scholarship guidelines, right? So that's a tick box, and there are certain things in like the personal statement to just ask you to kind of think about what you want to study. And we recognize that especially for the post-secondaries or even some of the associate degree students, you haven't exactly made up your mind 100%, and that's okay. But we want you to start thinking about how you can be of value to the country. So those are the kinds of questions we ask. So that you don't have to submit anything there, so it's just for you to go in and type in your responses.
2 questions, and I hope I'm not trying to make it exhaustive nor exhausting for you, but sometimes we had heard in past that the applicant needed a medical. Is that something that's still required?
Right, so that doesn't apply for the local scholarships.
Okay.
That's for the overseas, and the reason for that is because we want to make sure that they are medically fit, and even if they are not, we want to be aware of the conditions that they may be dealing with. Because one of the main reasons we ask for these things is to ensure that the environment they're going into is able to meet whatever needs they may have.
Right.
In this application as well, we do ask about students who may have, if it's special education needs or any such.
Right.
It's not because we are going to deny you a scholarship. That does not happen. But if it is that you do have a learning disability or you have a learning need that requires extra time or accommodations, we need to work with you to ensure that the institution is able to provide that.
Okay. Dr. Thompson, I'm told we have a caller. Shall we? Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne, Mario Ebanks. How you doing?
Mr. Mario Ebanks, how are you, my friend?
Okay, good, and good afternoon to your guest. I think it's Dr. Thompson.
Dr. Nicole Thompson, the acting manager at the Scholarship Secretariat.
Okay, good. Just have a couple of quick questions. I know you're getting close to the end of your
Thank you,
show
sir.
today, but I just wondered, Ms. Thompson, Dr. Thompson, again, good luck on all your work. I just wondered if there's any interfacing or any relationship between the Scholarship Secretariat and Immigration and work in regard to the jobs that are available for graduates of government scholarships when they return home. Because I know there are a number of graduates who are still not employed after they get back home from universities and they're qualified and got their degrees, but it doesn't seem like there's any kind of preparation for them to be assimilated back into the workplace. And secondly, second of the two questions is that I see now that the work people at the work department, WORC, they have a thing where they're going to be advertising or requiring the advertising of temporary permits now before they're processed by the department or the board. And I wonder if students, university students, are able to access that database to see those jobs, because I understand that the process for people registering, job seekers registering, is not very easy and very straightforward, and especially if you got students who are trying to just inquire about jobs availability, whether there's any, if you have any information on that. Because at one point, jobs were advertised in the newspapers. Now they're still doing some of that, but most of it is online, and there's a lot of jobs that are they're being missed by applicants because they don't see them, and the work jobs portal is so difficult to navigate. So I'll leave those two thoughts with you, and good luck with your work, and I hope that there's interfacing between all aspects of our human capital development.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mario. Dr. Nicole?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I especially like the end where we recognize it's all about human capital development. And that's what we do in align with all the requirements in terms of work, immigration, etc. We do interface with WRC. About 2 weeks ago, I believe, we sent out a document on their behalf to all our students requesting, well, let me say requesting was a very strong word, but suggesting that they register with WRC, because I believe they're building out a special portal for overseas students in particular. But this also applies to our local students, because there are also local persons who are completing their degrees and not finding jobs. We unfortunately do not get involved in direct job placement. If a company reaches out to us and we can send it out to our students, we do. But we do recognize that there is a concern in that area, and we are working with other parts of government. Within the government, the POCS, there is a careers portal as well in terms of jobs, and that information has also been provided to our students because we need them to know what portals or what options there are out there where they can be informed about jobs and that they keep checking. So we do as much as we can. We are open to do more as the need arises if we can facilitate. But we are aware of what Mr. Mario spoke about, and we really try to encourage our students as much as possible to take advantage of any local opportunities. What we find oftentimes, though, is that being overseas, they're not aware of some of the options. And we encourage parents, family, friends, if you see a job that's advertised in the newspaper, or even if you're browsing and you know, hey, my cousin John, that's a perfect job for him, send him the information and let him get that process started even though he's overseas.
This is where we can be involved. Now, as we close our discussion, so I invite you to share, repeat if you wish to remind us, but can we ask one final question? Relative to the application process, is there a means test, from whatever but the way to phrase it?
Yes, the means information remains on our application. We have reduced the documents required a bit, so all we are requesting now is a job letter. We would usually say from the parent or guardian when we are dealing with more high school age or those the younger applicants. But we recognize that, especially with locals, we have a myriad of applicants, some of whom are quite seasoned in their jobs and in their qualifications already. So we do invite them to, if they are employed, they can use their own job letters and their own financial information. But it doesn't remain on our application. The thresholds are, I think it's 400,000 combined salary, where that means barrier may step in. So if someone is at that barrier, we'll have to look at it more closely. It's not a denial, but this definitely may require further examination. And just to explain a little bit more about the local process, I know we're quickly running out of time.
Your time off.
But unlike the overseas process where we are going through the reviews now and they are being set up for interviews, there is no interview for the local application. So that process is usually a lot shorter. We hope to get them their information on conditional approvals by around the middle of June, early July. And I want to emphasize that word conditional, and that's going out to both local and overseas applicants. Conditional means that there are still conditions to be met before the scholarship is finally granted. What we are finding is that oftentimes students get a conditional approval and they're running off to the high heavens. Yes, I'm good. The conditions would frequently be acceptance into the institution, and this is local or overseas. In some cases, it will be conditions based on academic performance, more so with the overseas than the local. It may be one or two documents. For example, we spoke about the medical. We require the medical for the overseas because preparation to go overseas. But we didn't request the medical at the beginning. We actually requested the medical at the end because we know there's a cost involved in getting a medical. So we don't want you to have to go through that until you are sure that you're heading off, right? So those documents will be needed before that final award package is done. So we do need persons to understand that it's conditional approval until the final award is granted.
All right. Well, please accept this invitation. I know it's standing, but whether in person or on a phone call, you or any team member, if we can help, get the information out, remind people. Education cannot be understated. So thank you very much, Paul.
No problem. And I just want to leave it one more thing. Please reach out to the Secretariat. We have too many persons who say, I heard someone told me down the line and so forth. Please give us a call, send us an email. We are here to help you.
Yeah, it's not like the Calypso song about what happens in a party stays in a party. Tell everybody.
Yes.
Because we want them all to have equal unfettered access to education opportunities. But Nicole, to you and the team, thank you very much, Mom.
No problem. All the best.
Right.
Thanks for having us.
Tomorrow is another day, and so we invite you to be a part of our continuing discussion and dialogue as we invite you now to stay tuned and request a song. We can WhatsApp it. You can call us up. Be a part of our music. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient